Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Eric.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
Welcome back.
We're back. Yeah.
Hey, Eric,
yeah.
how you doing?
How you been doing? Well, my friend. And you?
I'm good.
So what are you drinking tonight?
Oh, well, I just polished off a Maker's Mark Old Fashioned, and now I'm excited to take a first sip of something I've never had before.
Oh.
It is New Riff's Rye. They're bottled in bond rye. New Riff, I like their bourbon a lot. I've not ever had their rye.
Okay.
It smelled great.
Mm-hmm,
so this, I think, might be the first time I've ever done a true taste test on the podcast.
Oh, I'm excited. This is a first.
That's just fine. It has a great...
There was so much silence. There was so much
It
silence.
has a great sniff, this.
Okay,
It almost has a... I don't want to say anything. Tell me what you smell.
Almost like a dried fruit of some kind.
Okay. I was almost... It might be because I just had this old fashioned.
Yeah.
And I was almost getting yeah, it smells like cookies or like chocolate almost. To me or something.
Interesting. Yeah,
I don't know.
To me, it smelled kind of like dried apricot or like almost like dried grapes or something raisins
I can see
or something like
yeah.
that, you know. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I think it'll get even better
as
the ice starts to melt. Yes, true.
Yes, yeah.
Oh man! But we're back to talk a little more about Hard to Kill.
Ooh,
yeah, the 1990 classic.
This movie is hard to kill,
man. Well, I mean, so this movie was your suggestion. What's your experience with this movie?
We talked about this a little bit briefly. This was one of those ones. It wasn't on TBS. It wasn't on TNT.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw this one on USA or one of the third tier of the cable networks, right? And I used to watch them. And as we mentioned in the last episode, even at 9 years old, I knew that these were B-string action movies.
Okay.
But nonetheless, I watched all these because, I watched all the action movies at the time, right? And so I have memories of the Seagal movies. And so when I was looking for movies to do, I'm like, oh, you guys haven't done a Seagal. We should do a Seagal one. Yeah.
I think, these are the movies that are on par with the lesser Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies, like the bad ones, like the Red Heats, and the Raw Deals of the world are similar in quality to this.
Mm-hmm.
The better, Seagal movies. Now, I didn't really grow up watching Seagal flicks other than Under Siege, which was great. I love Under Siege. But this movie was part of this Seagal box set that I had bought, specifically for the podcast.
Yeah.
When we were doing Under Siege, I was like, well, I may as well get the one that also comes with these other movies we might one day talk about.
And it paid off. It did ultimately pay off.
And I got to say, it's enjoyable enough to watch. I could see it. This would have been like a blockbuster rental, that you have no regrets about.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Especially if I was old enough to have been drinking at the time, that you and the boys are going to rent Hard to Kill and crush a 12-pack or whatever, you have no regrets. That's a solid night.
Yeah.
Order some pizza. We're going to watch Hard to Kill. We might make it a double feature. We might throw on, some Lionheart or Death Warrant or something like that. Watch some Van Damme flick.
All right.
And make a night of it, man. Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. No, it is the best thing I can say about this movie is it is a movie. That it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
It does end. That's the best thing about it.
It's the best part. It's not over 2 hours long. I I suggested it because I knew it would be fun. Like these are the one great thing about the Steven Seagal movies is they are eminently watchable in terms of just making fun of them.
Yes.
Right? Like they're not bad in a boring way. They're bad in an entertaining way.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So anyway.
You want to try to explain what's happened so far in the movie?
Yeah.
This actually did have a plot heavy first act, I think.
It is plot heavy. And the most important, I think, part of the plot is the fact that it's Oscar night in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And they've unseasonably had rain on this Oscar night, at least in this version of reality.
At least down by the docks.
Down by the docks, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, Mason Storm is creeping up on some gangsters and an unknown figure with the most ridiculous camcorder in the history of the world. He's recording the conversation. He knows the mystery figure, but can't place the voice. He's the worst spook ever. Immediately alerts the gangsters. They chase him away. Even though they don't really know who it is, they manage to track him down. But before they do, he calls into his boss and says, "Hey, I've got some special footage. We're going to take these mob guys down. I want to talk to you later." So he goes he goes to a liquor store. He lets the cashier get murdered and then kills all these thugs, then takes a bottle of champagne and a stuffed animal.
He steals.
Clearly steals it. Yeah, there's no question about it. Goes home to his wife and his kid. Starts fucking his wife after he puts his kid to bed. While they're fucking, a bunch of bad guys show up, murder the fuck out of them, murder the fuck out of his boss. Then the cops leave after planting a bunch of drugs in his bedroom and turning it into a crime scene. And now we're here.
Man, you made light work of that. That was nice. That was nice. So we pick up the action. We're at the hospital. We get this new character entering, Lieutenant O'Malley.
Uncle O'Malley, please.
Uncle O'Malley. My friends call me Uncle O'Malley.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But he's
Lieutenant O'Malley was my father.
This guy, Frederick Coffin, never has anyone looked more like a cop
dude, straight
than
up.
this guy.
Yeah.
So now we're in the corridor of the hospital. There's a full news crew there. They're interviewing this Assemblyman Trent about his relationship with Mason Storm. It's the mystery man from the mob meeting earlier.
Uh-oh.
So he's telling the media all about how I've been close with Mason Storm for years, which this is very strange if you think about it.
Right.
Because presumably he's aware that they're setting this guy Storm up to look like a dirty cop.
Right.
So it's weird to be putting yourself close to him.
Right, exactly. You want to distance him.
You want to be like, I mean, I don't know him, but I guess he's good. I've heard
stories about him. I think I've met him at a function once.
Not to be like, we were best of friends.
Yeah, right. I remember when we went fishing on the lake the one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, I know. He came on a little bit strong, although Sattler was clearly happy to be chewing the scenery in this moment.
Yeah, he's good.
He loved it.
So this O'Malley guy, he seems disgusted as Trent is whipping up these fake tears for the cameras. And then there's this character that I think he did have a name, but I just know him as he was the captain.
He's the captain guy.
He's so this guy, the captain, gave O'Malley this scolding look. And then we see paramedics come wheeling the dead wife through on a gurney as Trent continues this fake emotional display for the news cameras. And he's talking all sorts of shit.
So this is a callous question, but why not? Would you bring a corpse into an emergency room? I mean, she was in a body bag.
That's
would you
true. I don't know
her?
if they do that or not. Is that where the morgue is?
No, the morgue is usually not in the emergency room floor, but I'm not an expert. Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
That's a good question.
But it's another one of those things that they clearly did it for dramatic effect, right?
And the dude, Trent, is like, what makes people do things like this? Why would someone please tell me that?
It's so great. I love it.
He's laying it on
so
super thick.
So thick.
So next, a group of doctors and nurses come rushing through, pushing Storm, who's apparently still alive.
Right.
I don't know how the killers could possibly have left him with a breath in his body.
I mean, as many rounds from those shotguns that they pumped into him.
Another weird thing, though, I had just thought of this. The third attacker, Storm killed one.
Yeah, he did.
I would have assumed that they were all cops, and the other guys just left that body in the house. So is there the body of a dead cop also in there?
That is an excellent question, and the answer has to be yes.
I think so.
Although maybe there was, because this movie was heavily edited.
Unless he was just a goon only and not a cop.
Maybe he was a hired gun, I guess, but that seems weird that you'd have two cops and
they
then
should have
a
like
goon.
carried him out of there or something.
And maybe there was a deleted scene where they're like dragging him out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There was a lot cut from this movie, but I think it was just a continuity error.
Probably. Or like no one's ever going to think about that. And I didn't think about it until like the third time watching. So, you know.
True.
I don't know.
True. That's true.
But for some reason, the fact that Storm is receiving like standard medical care annoys the captain. He's like, what is he, a national treasure?
Right.
It makes no sense.
No, this is what they do with a gunshot wound in a hospital.
He thinks they're doing too much to try to save his life. This hero cop, they're doing too much. Why don't they just let him die?
Right.
It's annoying me. But Storm's vital signs are practically non-existent.
Yeah.
And the captain is saying, they always said Storm was superhuman. Now you know why. Because he's jacked up on coke all the time. Which is fucking crazy shit to say.
Like, there's not been any work established that there was any even suspicion about this.
Yes. That pisses O'Malley off. He comes at the captain. And I don't know what O'Malley's rank is, but he doesn't outrank the captain.
No.
So it's crazy for him to like slam the captain up against the wall.
Right, but he justifies it by saying that he's IA. So he's like sort of outside his like hierarchy or something. So I guess it's okay for an IA cop to be like pushing a captain up against a wall.
O'Malley is like, Storm's the bravest and cleanest and most honorable man in the department. If I hear you talking shit like that again, I'm going to give you what you deserve. I don't care if it costs me my badge.
Right.
All this shit. The captain wants to know, why? What are you doing here? Like, you shouldn't be here. This is like you're an internal affairs person. So O'Malley says, that IA is taking over the investigation. The captain doesn't like that.
Right.
O'Malley says, we got 2 dead cops with drugs and cash all over the scenes. And like, I'm taking over. That's what, comes direct from the police commissioner. Which I feel like that would be 2 separate investigations.
Exactly.
Though.
Yeah.
One is to investigate what the police, what these cops, what kind of bad shit they might have been doing. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the murders is a different investigation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that would be homicide. The internal affairs would be a completely separate thing.
Like, were they mixed up in some shit? Yeah.
Like, I need to check evidence. Where was he getting this drugs? Yeah, exactly.
Unless the commissioner and internal affairs like suspects that
also
all of the homicide cops are dirty.
Also, yeah, I mean, there's so much like ambiguity here. Why is the police commissioner personally invested on the potential corruption of a single police officer? Famously, cops are corrupt all of the time. Like, what is so special about Mason Storm? Right?
You sound like the captain now.
Yeah, I know, right?
What is he, a national treasure?
Is he a national treasure? I don't know. I mean, Steven Seagal is a national treasure.
So now at this moment, a doctor comes out and informs them that Storm is dead. And the mood gets real somber. The captain says to O'Malley, I know you were close with Storm. I'm sorry. O'Malley is like, he's the most unstoppable son of a bitch I ever knew. And the captain's like, well, he got stopped tonight.
So many fucking one-liners.
Kind of callous. So now the captain leaves. We'll find out pretty soon the captain is also dirty. Mm-hmm. But I feel like every movie like this has to have like that, the boss cop, the superior officer who's like just dislikes the hero for no particular reason.
Because he's the hero and you have to. That's the rules.
But so the captain leaves. On cue, another doctor comes out and tells O'Malley the Storm isn't dead after all.
Right.
It's fucking amateur hour.
That first doctor, we fired him. He's an idiot.
That's like the fucking doctor's like on Arrested Development, Right. It's just like, what the fuck?
He's going to be all right. Oh, thank God. Well, you're taking this really well because he lost his left hand.
He's dead. Like, dead tired after we saved his life. Of course. What? But no. There's a news crew that's standing right there that apparently didn't hear this. So the doctor then grabs O'Malley, takes him back to see Storm, who's being worked on by this team of doctors. O'Malley says, I want to talk to everyone who's working on Storm before they leave here. No one's allowed to know that Storm is still alive. Then O'Malley enters the room where they're working on Storm and finds another, like the pile of clothes or whatever that's there. He finds the cassette tape in his vest pocket. That tape presumably contains the entire meeting.
Yes,
right. That Trent had with the mob guys. That's going to be relevant to me later on.
Yeah.
But so the doctor doesn't like all this cloak and dagger shit, but O'Malley's like, tough shit. I'm working with him here. The police commissioner has given me orders, whatever. Then he pulls the doctor aside and says, you're going to make Storm vanish and you're going to help me do this thing. I don't know that that's legal to do.
No.
And I know, though, the hospital people do not have to take orders from the police.
No, they do not.
So you don't come into my hospital and tell me what we're doing.
Dude, also, no doctor, no nurse, no anybody at a hospital is going to let you walk into an operating room like that. It's just not going to happen.
Like a sterile environment.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you want him to die? Because this is how you make him die.
So O'Malley is now saying, we're going to keep Storm dead and safe until he can answer some questions. So then O'Malley takes Storm's bloody hand and he's giving him like words of encouragement and fade to black.
Fade to black.
Now we hear some voiceover of Trent saying, you can take that to the bank. And we get this montage of like newspaper clippings and news reports that says the senator died in a plane crash.
The mob knows what they're doing, man.
See, like, how does that happen? Like, they have a cassette tape where they know someone's planning to sabotage this plane.
Right.
Right.
And then he dies in a plane crash.
It's like Assemblyman Trent appointed to the vacant Senate seat. And then we get another like audio of Trent saying, and you can take that to the bank.
Presumably O'Malley has listened to this tape.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a cassette tape featuring this guy who wants to have the senator killed so he can get his seat.
Right.
And says you can take that to the bank.
And says kill him by crashing his plane.
And you haven't like put the pieces together.
This isn't circumstantial. I mean, this is literally, here is all of the evidence for you.
Yes. Then we see more clippings. Trent wins second term. Trent eyed as a vice president candidate in 1992. And we get more of like, and you can take that to the bank. They got these like the newspaper clippings, much like we had on Rocky IV. Like the text to the articles is just nonsense, like word salad.
Right.
I wrote it down. He said, the facts regarding this situation remain the same, state the authorities. Details concerning the action have been given preliminary investigation, but it is felt that only by a more detailed study will the true facts become known. It's like a lot of words that say nothing at all
right.
about anything. So then we see the years are passing. Storm is still in a coma. He's growing the most hideous facial hair that we've ever seen on an action hero.
So it is explained later, but I laughed aloud when we come up from black and we see him in the bed and he's got a goatee.
Right.
Like not a full beard, a goatee.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't grow naturally like this. Like somebody did this to him.
Right.
Like what kind of choice though is that from the filmmakers?
I know. It was
like to
so
say,
weird.
We're gonna do this with a straight face. We're gonna have him have this wildly huge bushy goatee.
Oh my god,
it's crazy. Yeah, his hair's all long and messy, but I guess it always was. So then we get to a title card that says 1990, 7 years later, LA Coma Center.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us up to present day.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get the nurse Andy Stewart. That's Kelly LeBrock. She's clocking in to start her shift. There's another nurse there that's giving her a rundown of what's happened overnight. She mentions that like her boyfriend, aka Storm, he turned his head. And I love that this character, the other nurse Martha, was carrying this mug that said "Black by popular demand." Like she's a black lady. That was great. The nurses both like had so much flair. Like Office Space.
I want to watch
like,
that movie.
Just all these buttons and weird like no smoking and a big like I love kittens and everything. It's wild.
And their chemistry was better than any other characters in this entire movie.
Absolutely. So basically, Storm has been listed as a John Doe all this time. They both seem excited that he's showing signs of progress. The whole like thing about him rolling his head over or whatever got like a huge reaction from Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like there probably could be exceptions, but I can't imagine that nurses typically get like very emotionally invested in coma patients.
I
particularly like a John Doe who you have no clue who this person is and how they wound up here. You're just like, I'm really invested in this particular John Doe.
One guy.
Yeah. Unless they have like a pool going in the office of who's going to wake up first. I'm going to win $1,000 if John Doe is the first one to wake up.
Maybe they do have a Deadpool going.
Absolutely, dude. So later on, Andy is making her rounds. She's like just tinkering with Storm's medical devices, just like pushing buttons and turning knobs,
Which really you don't want to be doing.
No. So she says, I got a surprise for you and asks if he wants a little pussy. Crazy. Then she produces this tiny kitten and puts it on Storm's pillow.
Where the fuck did this kitten come from?
They just keep a cardboard box of kittens off to the side somewhere. The kitten was like cute as hell, of course.
It was a cute kitten.
But she's talking more. She's talking about, I know my words are getting through to you no matter what the doctors say.
Right.
And all this, like, what do the doctors know anyway? You know, but.
Well, famously.
So she says, I'm going to keep talking to you until you wake up. Then she lifts the sheets up off him and takes a good long gander at his like massive dick and balls, I guess.
Apparently.
And says, you've got so much to live for. Please wake up.
Like he's going to fall in love with her. Like she's got him in the bag. I mean, I don't know. What does she think is going to happen here?
It's one of the wildest moments we've ever had on any movie of the podcast. Like, how fucked up is this?
She is a fucking sociopath.
Like,
psychopath.
If we reversed the roles and it was like a male nurse sneaking naked pics at a girl who's in a coma,
dude,
that'd be unreasonable.
We don't even have to we don't have to hypothetical this. This is Kill Bill. Like the exact reverse is like just right in Kill Bill, and we're happy when she murders those guys.
We also had the moment in Action Jackson when Sharon Stone was dead, and the coroner's like,
"That's right.
Take a look at this," and like whips the sheet off her naked body.
Dude,
we don't see women this hot that often. And it's like, Jesus Christ, that's gross.
Oh God.
But she takes the kitten and she moves on, I guess, to the next patient. So now suddenly Storm's fingers start moving and twitching. All of his monitors start showing signs of consciousness, I guess, whatever. I feel like the prospect of banging Kelly LeBrock is like bringing him back, Also, I noticed when they were showing the close-up of the finger switching, like he's wearing a wedding ring.
Yeah, he still is.
So she's been like lusting over this married man.
Who's obviously married, but like I feel like she knows. Oh no,
they don't know who he is.
They don't know who he is. Right.
You can have a wife somewhere looking for him.
Right. Oh my God, man,
this is crazy.
She gets creepier and creepier by the minute.
Like his brow is furrowing, and he's seeing flashbacks of his family life or whatever.
Yeah.
He's acting so hard. Like, it's too bad because him playing a coma patient was like the best acting I've ever seen from Seagal.
I have a note that says like he's not even believable in a coma.
No. So his pulse is racing, his eyes are trying to open. He's remembering the deadly attack at his house.
Yeah.
His eyes open, and it seems like he's taken in his surroundings. Andy is over on the side, filling out paperwork, like oblivious to all of this commotion that's happening. And I feel like that's like one of her primary responsibilities would be
monitor the patient.
Be aware if one of the coma patients starts moving, That, along with inspecting his genitalia and like pressing random buttons and turning various knobs, like that's her job, But so Storm reaches up. He detaches one of his heart monitors or something. His machine flatlines, which finally gets Andy's attention. She walks over to check on him, assuming that the monitors are just glitching up or whatever, but she's shocked when he like weakly calls out, "Nurse!"
Right.
So she runs off. She knocks over like this IV stand. I feel like that like might have killed another patient.
Seriously, worst nurse ever, man.
So cut to, team of doctors is wheeling Storm through the hospital, ordering up all types of tests and shit. Andy is like rifling through some drawer and pulls out a business card and makes a phone call.
Yep.
She reaches the front desk or whatever for Detective Goodhart at Eternal Affairs, asking for O'Malley. It's fucking Dean Norris.
Dean Norris, everybody.
Dude, Hank from Breaking Bad.
Yep.
He was like in a lot of iconic action movies in this era, though. He was in Total Recall, Lethal Weapon 2, Terminator 2. Always like just dude was born to play a cop as well. He played the SWAT team leader in Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I forgot
crazy
that.
shit. But so Goodhart asks what the call is about. Andy provides this like reference number and says that I was instructed to notify O'Malley.
Uncle O'Malley.
If there's any change in his condition of this John Doe.
Mm-hmm.
Now Goodhart asks what happened. And Andy says, well, the patient woke up. Goodhart tells someone else to go get that shitty captain from before ASAP. And then Goodhart informs Andy that O'Malley doesn't work here anymore. Why don't you give me all of your information, and we're going to send someone over as soon as possible. Goodhart also tells her that for Storm's safety, you shouldn't tell anyone else about this.
Okay. So when O'Malley left IA or was forced out of IA, you would think that he would like change the parameters and give her a new business card. Like anything. Also,
none of this makes sense if you think about it.
None of it makes sense. It's just completely, totally batshit.
Do they all know that Storm is still alive? I think not.
No,
right?
They don't.
But there's no like process of him having to look up a case number,
right?
Or him having to like access a secret file,
right?
And discover that Storm's still alive. It's just like they all seem to know that it's Storm,
right? Exactly,
based on strictly a number that this nurse gave them,
which presumably is off the books.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if they knew that Storm was alive but in a coma all these years, why would they not have sent someone in there to kill him?
Exactly. I mean, there's only so many hospitals in the city, right?
Yeah.
And then going back to O'Malley, like, worst friend ever. Not only does he not update his contact information, but what, has he just never visited this guy in 7 fucking years?
True.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, it would make sense. You gotta, when you're on your way out, you would update the,
right.
Well, here's what we're gonna do if he does wake up one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I don't know.
It was just the whole thing was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. So Andy goes back to check on Storm, who is watching this like 1990 news program about President George Bush on the cable hospital news channel.
That was not hilarious.
That is not a thing.
Definitely not a thing. Yeah.
So Storm asks her, what year is it? She tells him, she's like, you've been here 7 years. She asks if he remembers anything. He says he remembers everything. She tells him the whole hospital is buzzing about this news. No one's ever come out of a coma after so long. Okay. Which I did some research. I mean, that's not accurate, but maybe they mean like specifically at this hospital.
That one ward. Yeah. I know, right.
Anyway, he's got like way too much muscle for a guy who's been in a coma for 7 years.
He should literally be a skeleton with skin wrapped over it.
Right? So she says, your story's going to be all over the news. And he tells her, look, I'm a cop. My family was murdered. The people who did that are going to come here to try to kill me when word gets out that I'm still alive. And he said, my wife and family were murdered.
Yeah.
And he would have no way to know if his son's alive or not.
Nope. Not at all.
He didn't even know that his son was ever shot at or anything.
Right.
He was like already out, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
But anyway, she says, well, I've got other patients. I can't just leave him hanging. He protests and she just leaves him unattended.
Oh, my God.
Which is an insane reaction. How does she just like walk away when he's like, please don't leave me? Dude, like, people are going to come here and try to kill me.
Man.
Sorry, bro. Gotta go. But so a moment later, the super chill dude walks in. Like,
how's it going, brother?
How's it going, brother? It's like, that guy killed me, man. Dude, I want to have a beer with that dude.
Yeah, that motherfucker was, I bet he throws down dude. Good. Yeah.
How's it going, brother?
Look, he's the guy you buy weed from at that hospital.
Absolutely.
No question.
Got that medicinal?
Yeah, fuck yeah. The good stuff.
So he's a physical therapist. He's like, I'm here to give you a massage or whatever. I do like Storm was like, get the fuck out of here. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
The therapist, he wheels Storm out of the room. Now, the dirty cop, Axel, has already arrived at the hospital disguised as a doctor.
Dude.
How did he get a doctor disguise together so fast?
I know. Man, it's just the timeline on this movie is just so preposterous.
But he's not disguised his face at all.
None.
I feel like hospitals have security cameras in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to the front desk, asks the nurse there for a list of patients in the coma unit, which she just happily provides.
So, like, any dude in a doctor's jacket with a stethoscope can walk up and you're not going to check their credentials?
Yeah. Here you go.
Like, just take it on faith. Okay. I guess that's 1990 for you.
Also, I was bothered that this nurse looked just a lot like Kelly LeBrock.
Exactly the same. You're right.
Like, I thought it was bad. That's bad casting.
Yeah.
Why would you cast someone who looks very similar to another nurse?
Your lead. You're absolutely, yeah.
Unless it's like going to be important to the plot they look similar.
Yeah.
You need to cast them looking very different so us dumb, drunk viewers can keep everyone separated.
Well, like everybody in this movie, I feel like the casting director was phoning it in.
For sure, man. Now, as the therapist is giving Storm a massage, Storm is pleading with him to please stop the massage and just get me out of this hospital. Meanwhile, Axel has like made the odd choice of plucking this flower out of a vase on the desk and he gives it to the nurse, which like strikes her as odd. And it's like, dude, why are you drawing attention to yourself?
Right, exactly. I know you. Oh my God.
So there's a security guard right there as he's walking away and is like, hey, you know that guy? you know that doctor? And she says, no. It's like the dude just sucks at his job. Like his whole job is to scrutinize anything out of the ordinary.
Oh my God.
But so the guard pursues after Axel. Axel's elevator door, though, closes before the guard can stop him. So upstairs, Andy's loading up this like impossibly awkward tray of boxes.
Dude, this looks like a thing that you would do in a Three Stooges movie.
Yes. It's like piled, 8 boxes high. She can't see over the top of it. It's like stacked high like a Jenga, thing or whatever.
Up. Yeah.
I'm like, I was dead certain these boxes are getting dropped. Like that's the whole thing is so that they go spilling everywhere at some point.
Exactly.
But so Axel emerges from the elevator, starts looking around on the floor for Storm. He finds Storm's room, produces a pistol with a silencer, but Storm isn't there. He also, you pointed out, he pulled his gun way too early. And is just walking around with the gun out.
You have no idea theoretically where this guy is. Yeah. Generally he's in the coma ward and what floor it's on. And that's all the information you have at this point.
But so Axel picks up Storm's John Doe chart and says out loud, John Doe. It's just weird. Then he tosses it to the side.
Throws it to the ground.
Throws it across the room.
Absolute disdain for John Doe.
Why? But just then, a security guard, the guy from the below, walks in. He's like, hey, I got to see your ID. And Axel hides the gun behind his back and acts cooperative.
Which he wouldn't have had to do if he didn't pull the gun so quickly. Yeah.
But he walks towards the guard. Then he whips that pistol out and kills him.
Boom. Dead.
It's like, alas, poor hospital guard. We hardly knew ye.
You got 2 lines of dialogue.
But just then, the physical therapist comes wheeling Storm back towards the room. Storm is still trying to tell him, you got to get me away from the hospital. The therapist is like, don't worry, brother. I'm going to hook you up with some lemon pie and some pizza. And I swear Storm's like, get me out of here, brother. Trying to speak to him on his own terms.
Yeah, right, exactly. You got to meet him where he lives.
Yes. So Axel is crouched down over the dead guard and he calls for help. And the therapist runs over there to check on him. The therapist is like, what happened? And Axel's like, he's dead, and shoots the therapist.
Dude, the squibs on this were offensive.
Yeah. It did not line up at all with where he was aimed.
No, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was it jumps out at you at how bad it was.
So apparent. I mean, and it's on screen for 1 second, but it was so he was aiming practically at the ground, and the
his belly button, and the squibs are popping out in the
top of his back. Yeah, it was just
crazy,
absolutely stupid. Yeah.
Now, so Storm, unable to get up off his gurney, has managed to reach the button that opens the door to this where there's a bay of elevators.
Right.
I don't even know that you could move your arm around that well after 7 years. They couldn't even lift your arm to press a button.
All of it's fucking jelly, right? There's nothing left of your butt muscles at this point.
So Axel has turned towards Storm, but that's when Andy comes walking in with that huge load of boxes.
Ugh.
And Axel hides in the doorway and pulls the dead bodies in real quick so she can't see him. And I'm like, I don't know. He's already killed 2 people. Why would he not just shoot her?
Shoot her, right. Yeah. He clearly has no problems with this.
But so then Axel is prepared to shoot Andy, but she walks on into another room without seeing him, which I guess was the point of the tall stack of boxes.
I guess so.
But that's Chekhov's stack of boxes, man. You can't show a precariously balanced box like that. It doesn't. Dude, you don't drop them all.
Dude, I'm telling you, Chekhov was rolling around in his grave when this movie came out in the theaters.
So Storm, though, meanwhile, has managed to grab this mop out of a janitor's bucket, and he uses it to push himself through the doorway and press the button on the elevator. Then the elevator arrives. He uses the mop to push himself into the elevator, and then to press a button to move the elevator, to go to the top floor or whatever. And I appreciate that they were trying to acknowledge he can't walk.
Right.
But it would require a lot of strength to move yourself around using a long ass mop handle.
Those gurneys are heavy, dude.
Yeah, that probably weighs
wheels.
The same weight as him.
Right,
you're probably talking 400 or 500 pounds of weight.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But so Axel runs up just in time to see Storm disappearing into an elevator. Storm uses that mop handle to press a button to go to the top floor. Axel sees the elevators going up, and he gets into another elevator and goes up. Not that he would have any idea what floor this elevator is going to stop on.
But this is the least of the problems of this whole sequence, so I'll take it. Fine, whatever.
Now, Andy walks back out into the hallway, and she sees that dead guard and therapist sticking out from a doorway. She goes to check on him. Then she goes and she grabs her phone to call for help, only to find the phone lines have been cut, which is not a thing that they showed Axel doing.
No, not at all. Right. I know. I was like, when did this happen?
How did that happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so she notices, though, that Storm's not in his bed, and realizes this must all involve him.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he said it. He warned her. Yeah. So, like, what's your excuse?
She seems shocked, though. Right?
With the Puma Beach was
big,
telling the
musical
truth.
Sting as well.
I know.
Meanwhile, Storm arrives up on the top floor, and he immediately presses the button to go back down to the basement. Axel arrives like a moment later, pops out of his elevator, but Storm's already gone. And like, I swear if he had just had his gun out ready to shoot, he could have shot Storm in time, but he had put his gun away again.
I mean, it would have raised the tension of the scene if he did at least like do a couple of desperation shots, even if they missed, you know?
But so Axel decides, I'm going to take the stairs down for some reason.
Okay.
So Storm, like, as his elevator door's opening, he's ready to fight or whatever with his mop handle, but it's Andy at the door.
Whew, thank God.
He's like, are you going to believe me now? She grabs his gurney and starts rushing him through the halls, just like banging into everything.
Almost intentionally. Almost like the director was like, I need you to be as chaotic as possible in this.
Well, it's like, for a professional gurney pusher,
right?
She's really bad at pushing a gurney.
Not good at all at this, yeah.
So they burst out the doors to the outside, and she's like slams him into these like newspaper vending machines. Like, it was low-key hilarious to watch. It was like pratfall. It was like physical comedy.
I mean, it just goes to show that even when Steven Seagal's not causing property damage on his own, he has someone do it for him. Right? So is anybody who's doing the property damage drinking game, I feel like this is all legitimate reasons to drink, in my opinion. Qualified.
So another awesome moment is Axel is running through the hall, and he runs into this janitor. Like, they collide, he drops his pistol. Then he stops to punch the janitor a couple times in the face. Like, stand him up and punch him out.
Which isn't even the last time this unnecessary punching occurs in this movie, right?
Like, why would you stop to punch the guy? And then he delivered the line like, you piece of shit, to the janitor. Meanwhile, Andy has somehow managed to get Storm into her convertible.
A guy who easily weighs twice what she weighs.
Oh, yeah.
Easily weighs twice what she weighs.
He should be withered away to nothing, but he's still like a dude who's well over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? She's moving him around like he's weightless.
Right.
So Axel comes running outside, but it's too late because Andy's speeding away with Storm, raising that convertible roof up as driving, which I feel like cannot be good for the car.
No.
It'd rip right off, I think. But, shit, that was a flurry of hospital action, but I think that's going to wrap us up for episode 2.
It's a good stopping point. It's a good stop because the movie fades to black at this point too. So we'll fade to black for this episode.
I don't know if that's the end of Act 1. Is that the end of Act 2? No,
I think that's the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
I think that Act 1 is closed up there because him being put into the coma was almost like just part of the inciting incident, right? And so we wrap up Act 1 with them fleeing, and now we're well into fun and games at this point because we've got a training montage coming up. There's so much going to happen here.
Oh, dude, I'm psyched for it. Okay, well, everyone, thanks for listening, as always.
And we'll be back.